I talk about this all the time. Nobody becomes famous on accident. Okay. And then reciting Dr. Ball's quote about you can't be rich, radical, and famous. I believe this. So if somebody is truly famous or has a big following in their bubble considered famous, you know, not like The Rock famous, but, you know, famous, not Kevin Hart famous, but, you know, famous, right? You know, like a Nara Smith, who we're about to talk about, and then they have the audacity to act like it wasn't a brand. This is why I say everything is a brand, even their outrage. Even their outrage, right? Okay, look at Nara Smith on a recent interview with Call Her Daddy, which has its issues. Okay, look at her being upset at the Tradwife accusations.
You know what? Let's Google what the definition of a Tradwife is.
Well, that's perfect. I'm actually going to ask you,
Yes.
What do you consider a Tradwife?
Well, I had to look up the term.
Bring it to me.
Because I wasn't familiar with that, right? I didn't quite know what it means. But the fast answer is a tradwife is a woman who embraces or promotes a traditional model of marriage and family life where she typically prioritizes being a homemaker and a primary caregiver for kids, takes primary responsibility for cooking, cleaning, and managing the household, supports her husband's role as the primary breadwinner, often values traditional gender roles within marriage. So with that definition and those points, I'm none of that.
Okay, the chat on this TikTok, it says, well, hold on. No one claims she was an actual tradwife. She is cosplaying a tradwife. Nara. I know Nara is a young person, very young person, I think 25 with 5 kids. Okay, but Nara, nobody accused you of being an actual tradwife. We know you work. Everyone's always said you're a fake tradwife. You literally have a full-time job. You're literally a paid supermodel and you have millions of followers on TikTok. We know you're not a tradwife. You're cosplaying one. That's always been the accusation. That has always been the claim. So for her to come on the Call Her Daddy, which is the #1 podcast for girls, and twist the narrative as if every critique of her hasn't been that you're cosplaying something you're not even existing in, because that's the problem with the grift. The dangerous part of the grift is sending the message that Nara Smith's life is attainable as a normal ass tradwife, which is not true because Nara isn't a tradwife. She's cosplaying one. That's the problem. That's been the problem, right? And I know Nara's really young, so I get it. And she has, like, her husband's a former Mormon, and she's friends with Ballerina Farm, and she's definitely in a very specific bubble. But just to come on her, to Call Her Daddy and twist that narrative is very annoying.
And we can go through it point by point. I don't prioritize being a homemaker. I'm a working mom. Like, I am out in LA. I travel a lot. Sure, do I love cooking because it's my passion and because I kind of have to do it given my autoimmune? Absolutely. But that's a passion of mine. It's a hobby. It's not something that I need to be doing for what?
Right?
Right.
Keep going. I like this. This is good.
Primary caregiver for my kids? No. My husband and I split it 50-50. Like, when he works, I watch them. When I work, he watches them. And now, given everything that's been going on, we also have help. My mom's out. We have someone that helps us with the kids because it's just not doable for me to do it all. So that doesn't really work, right? Takes primary responsibility for cooking, cleaning, and managing the household. Yeah, I like to cook. Okay, sue me. I like to cook. My husband burns everything apart from a good steak, so he'll do that. But I like cooking, so I'm doing it. Household and cleaning, he does the dishes. I don't touch the dishes. There's no way you're gonna see me washing and scrubbing the dishes. Also, he cleans our house. You know what?
So chat says this feels like a rebrand to me. Great catch, chat. It is definitely a rebrand. 1000% our girl is rebranding. And that's why I say, girls, Nara Smith isn't famous on accident. None of these girls are famous on accident. Everything is deliberate. Everything is with intention. It is not an accident, okay? Check out this. This is Jahalis. I don't know if that's like a nickname or her name. I think it might just be her name. This is a great TikTok. I'm going to go ahead and link her account. You guys can check her out. But let's go ahead and watch her explore. Explore this topic. Okay, I'm going to ×2 it. It's a little long, but it's really good about media literacy and specifically Nara Smith and specifically like what you're viewing and seeing, because I'll show it to you and then I'll talk about it.
So deep in a media literacy problem. We are so deep in a media literacy problem that people don't even really understand what media literacy means. Like, so many of you brought up media literacy this summer when Sincere from Love Island said epitome instead of epitome, right? And you're like, that's evidence of a media literacy crisis. It's like, no, it's not, because he used the word correctly. Like, him mispronouncing the word is actually, in fact, not evidence of a media literacy problem, because the fact that he used the word correctly is evidence that he does, in fact, know the word and used it in the correct.
This is so, as a dyslexic girly who mispronounces words or forgets how to say them, I know what things mean, but I think because of the way my brain is, it sounds like, oh, she doesn't know. But like, he knew the word, the context, everything was fine. It's just the pronouncing. He probably just like in the first comment on this video, he mispronounced it, probably because he learned it reading instead of saying it out loud. Like, as a person who's read thousands of books, I still mispronounce words all the fucking time because so much of the words that I read were in my head and I wasn't always sounding out the words as I was reading. If you guys read, like, especially if you fast read, you really don't even sound out the words. You just like know what they are on visual and you're like, got it. And then you're like, you know, so it is one of those things where I think it's very important.
Context. Media literacy is about comprehension, contextualization, and it's also about understanding the unsaid, about being able to read between the lines. When we are discussing a media literacy problem in America, what we are talking about is people not being able to correctly infer. If something is not spelled out for you black and white, then it does not exist. That is why books are getting dumber and dumber. That is why movies and television shows suck, because everything needs to be.
And this is going to play into the conversation we're having again, the conversation we'll have after this about straight women not wanting to date bisexual men. Like, we have an education problem in the United States that straight women can get up here and say they're the biggest allies to the LGBTQ community, and then with the same breath say all bisexual men are actually just gay, and I won't date a gay or a bisexual man because I think he'll leave me for a man, and I won't date a bisexual man because he likes penis and I don't have one. What? Like, that's what? And so again, like, I don't even know where to start with you. That's why when chat asks me, like, Brittany, where should I start with philosophy books? Girl, I don't even know what level you're on right now. That's what I'm saying. If I gave you Judith Butler, you would feel so overwhelmed. Oh my God, you don't even know what a bisexual is? I can't just like recommend anything to you because I don't know where you're starting from. You know, and I don't want to look like a fucking elitist who's like, oh, I'm going to start them on something fucking dense and thick as fuck. And then everyone's like, why'd she send me this book? I didn't know. You know, I don't know. And then people are gonna be like, I don't like philosophy because I don't understand it. Yeah, everyone has to start somewhere. I get it. But it's one of those things where it's so frustrating to live a life as a marginalized person, by the way, like, and to sit here and advocate so hard for queer rights, just to have people who say they're the biggest allies say the most reductive, harmful shit about my community. That's so annoying. That's so annoying.
Needs to be spelled out for the reader or the viewer. If not, it does not exist. You do not know how to infer. Literacy is a key component to being able to correctly decipher propaganda, and is one of the main reasons why books get banned and why like reading comprehension and media literacy in general are kind of frowned upon when you are leaning into fascism, right? Because when you have media literacy and you possess this tool, it makes it very easy for you to spot propaganda. A joke that's been told since, like, I want to say going back to Ronald Reagan, is that propaganda in America is so good that Americans believe that we have no propaganda.
Exactly. So Americans think every other country is filled with propaganda and they're so evil and oh my God, like, but they don't think it's happening in their own country.
Because good propaganda should be subtle. Good propaganda should be so quietly done that it can be very easily denied. What America does is that it first introduces an idea through media, through television, through film, usually through fiction, right? And it gets you used to this idea. Like, you see it in media and TV, and you start to think, because media and TV reflect real life, that because you're seeing it in TV and in movies, that must be what it's like in real life.
Okay, and especially if you're a neurodivergent, you really think TV is real life. Like, people really think your life is like a book or a movie. And let me tell you, like, art imitates life, life imitates art, but also be very careful with this narrative. And you have to recognize, like, it's not always that way. Real people's lived lives are unique and nuanced and layered, and all of us are living very complex lives. So, like, you can't sit there and watch how media conveys one group of people. I think we all know how that feels, and think that this stereotype of this group is applied to every other group. And that's why it's so dangerous when you have a marginalized person brand their bullshit brand as something that's counterintuitive to our liberation movements. So for Nara Smith, a Black woman, to decide to make content looking like a tradwife, which she isn't even, right? Sending the message to people, especially to women of color, that you don't need to get an education, you don't need to get a job, you don't need to go out there and be independent, is bullshit when she has a full-time career she's had, by the way, since she was really young. Okay? And so there's so many layers to this. Ballerina Farm too, her husband's worth like $50 million. You know what I mean? Like, these people are rich. These people are so fucking filthy rich. It's disgusting. Okay? So when we have these conversations, they are sending a message out to primarily people who are probably making less than $60K a year, the hope and dream that one day they too will be a stay-at-home trad wife and a home that's bringing in $70K a year with 10 kids. Like, what are we talking about?
Because life imitates art, you start to see it in real life. After you see it in real life, then media starts to create this kind of subtle rule that this is the norm. When something has been established as the norm, that is when the law gets involved to make something legal/illegal, because they know that they won't get any backlash because it's already been established as a societal norm. It's already been established as an unspoken rule, and now we all have to do is just add the federal government to it. But the government has been involved since step number one. This good propaganda is not about telling you what to do directly. It is about creating a society where...
Hold on, pause. Chat, I'm going to derail for a second. You said, I think the birth rate decline is propaganda because, girl, everyone I know is pregnant. Yeah, but see, everyone I know is not pregnant. So our anecdotal bubbles can't be the data. You just go off the statistics. Just go off the data from your governments. Like, we know there's a problem with birth declines around the world. It doesn't matter. This isn't a tragedy. This is just the new way of living. But, like, who cares? Like, who cares if there's a birth decline? Like, who literally cares? You know what I mean? The problem is, like, we have to care in order to make sure resources are, you know, gathered correctly and given out correctly. But otherwise, like, there's 8 billion people on the planet, girls. It's okay. You know what I mean? But, like, nobody I know is having a baby except my one sister-in-law, and she's very Catholic. Otherwise, none of my feminist girlies are pregnant or have had babies. You know what I mean? So, you know, when we have these anecdotal experiences, they're super valid, but they are bubbled on a planet of 8 billion people. But with that said, plenty of people are having babies. So, you know what I mean? But there's no worry about the birth. The only worry about the birth decline, genuinely, is resources. And the good news is there will be more of it for more people, but, like, it doesn't matter. Like, we're not even centered around kids anyways. We don't even care about the planet. Nobody is really thinking about bigger picture stuff here because we're too busy fucking not looking in the mirror with our own shit. You know what I mean? But I agree that there is a lot of propaganda to have more babies in the United States. But that's why Trump is freaking out, because not enough people are having babies. So he's missing out on workers and voters. And that's why he's trying to incentivize women to get pregnant. You know what I mean? But, like, yeah, chat says the birth decline is a symptom. It's definitely a system, right? It's definitely a symptom of the economy, of the world, of also women realizing, like, I don't want to get pregnant by these men. You know what I mean? So let's go. Let's go, girls.
Where what they want you to do is the normal. It is the standard, and then you shame anyone else who does things outside of it. Good propaganda does not tell you what to do. It creates a world in where you believe that what they want you to do is your original idea, that you can exactly. Take conclusion all on your own. Capitalism sucks. The economy is in the garbage. Women are still being paid less than men. They're expected to do more work in the work and also at home with their children. And the solution to that is that you will just marry rich, and then you will spend your husband's money, and then your husband will take care of you. That is a brand new idea that you came up with because you're tired of capitalism and not just what patriarchy has been since the beginning of time. I hate working so much, so instead I want us to be a stay-at-home mom and bake for my children for a very rich and wealthy man who will just take care of us. Wow, I can't believe you just invented that. And it has not been that you've been consuming.
This is literally what I was talking about yesterday with age gap relationships, where older people will be like, I have to date younger people because they're more progressive. But if you're an older man dating a younger woman, you're just, like, fulfilling patriarchy script for you. You're not doing anything, like, new. And I can't believe I fell for any of that propaganda when I was younger. Like, yeah, maybe older people do need to date younger because, like, oh, people their age are so conservative and no, there's nothing unique or extraordinary or mind-blowingly new about old men dating young girls, okay? Boo.
What, 5-6 years worth of content of women being like, stay at home mom, stay at home mom. Oh, I love my husband. I love my kids. I just get to bake for them all day. It's so easy. No stressing at a job. No boss yelling at me. No emails. You think that's accidental that you've been consuming that kind of content on a loop for 5 or 6 years now, and now you've reached a solution that, you know what, having a career is not for you because you're just a girl. What's happening is that now that we've reached a level where the propaganda is no longer subtle, right, where we have 19-year-old girls coming on the internet telling girls, quit school because being a wife and a stay-at-home mom is so much better. I'm 19 years old, right? And that is obviously alarming. That's alarming to even the worst denier. Is like, hey, that's actually kind of insane. So now that we've gotten to the point where the propaganda is no longer, the plausible deniability in the propaganda is gone. Now we have all of the big factors that played a part into pushing this movement, who did it correctly, who did it in a way that was subtle, are now backtracking, are now being like, well, I never said that. Well, I never did that. Because now that we have entered the era where we are start to see all of the negative consequences of this very dangerous rhetoric that's been put out there, right? The big machines that profited the most from spreading this kind of propaganda because they did it correctly now have plausible deniability. Now can be like, well, I never said that. I never told you to go do that.
Go through it point by point. I don't prioritize being a homemaker. I'm a working mom. Like, I am out in LA. I travel a lot. Primary caregiver for my kids, no. My husband and I split it 50-50. So that doesn't really work, right? Takes primary responsibility for cooking, cleaning, and managing the household. Yeah, I like to cook. Okay, sue me. I like to cook. My husband burns everything apart from a good steak, so he'll do that. But I like cooking, so I'm doing it. Household and cleaning, he does the dishes. I don't touch the dishes. There's no way you're gonna see me washing and scrubbing the dishes. Also, he cleans our house. So that doesn't make any sense. Supports the husband's role as the primary breadwinner. No, we both work. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, I provide for our family.
Nara Smith goes on to call her daddy.
Pause. Chet says, I love her attitude here. Sue me. What do you love about it? Because when I see it, I'm annoyed. Because what happened to your little ASMR voice? What happened to your branding? What happened to your 12 million followers? You know what I mean? Like, oh, now you're a girl boss feminist? Oh, now you have attitude? Oh, now, okay. So I can't help but look at that and be like, and again, I know she's young, but also
Daddy podcast, the podcast that I like to call a place where media literacy goes to die, right? And she finally decides to address the rumors that she is a Tradwife and she spreads.
Oh, see, chat's falling for the propaganda, chat. You said I've never seen her stand up for herself. Habibi, she's never had to because she's always gotten everything she wanted. Habibi, you're falling for the propaganda. This is exactly the brand change she wants to make. Yeah, that's exactly what she wants you to feel. She wants you to feel like Nara Smith is finally standing up for herself. She's so powerful. She's such an inspiration. Look at her. Look at her finally standing up to the bullies. It works so well on you so quick. No offense, none taken. Okay, I'm going to take it back I'm going to say it on your behalf. Because it is what it is, girl. Okay, this is exactly the propaganda. This is exactly the brand change. This is exactly the point.
Tradwife propaganda. And she's essentially being like, I don't know where people got that from. That's not me at all. Before we get into the words that are coming out of her mouth, I'd like to discuss some kind of nonverbal things that are happening here that are subtle indicators to audiences that are sending out a very specific kind of message, right? This is, again, media literacy. It's about reading in between the lines. Number one.
And very fair, Chad, that you said I struggle with these things because I'm an autistic person. For sure. And I think, by the way, I bet a lot of neurodivergent people are a lot of the viewership on the internet because a lot of us find like safe spaces online. And I do think a lot of the viewership in the world is from neurodivergent people that really love the aspirational attitude or aspirational imagery of people on the internet. And I think that a lot of us probably watch a lot of creators for this reason, but it's also something to keep in mind about why I think this stuff kind of works on people.
One, look at the way that she's dressed. She's wearing jeans and a long sleeve t-shirt.
No. Hey, I'm going to block you. I don't know this user. You said tough shit. I'm autistic too. And even I understand how editing works. Hi, do you have a bad attitude for a fucking reason? Hi, are you a absolutely rude person for a fucking reason, bro? You be nice to my chat, bro. Okay? I will block you. Apologize right now or I'm going to block you. Apologize for your attitude because nobody needs to hear it. Okay? Or I'm going to block you. You have one chance. Your next comment better be an apology.
When have we ever seen her dress like this? Is this how she normally dresses?
Thank you. I appreciate the apology. I really do. Thank you for apologizing. It makes a difference. Okay? All right? Autism on autism violence, chat. Exactly, chat. Autism on autism violence. Okay? Thank you for apologizing. We accept it.
I have her blocked, but I went on Google really fast. Let's go through some of her outfits in her other video. Are you seeing a difference? Is there a clear stylistic choice happening here? Look at it. Stare at it. Look. Add up all the outfits.
And she looks gorgeous. Look, no one's saying Nara Smith isn't a beautiful person, that her fashion isn't on point, that all of us would want to feel so pretty when we cook. But let's be real, girl. When I cook, I made dough this week because I make pizzas every day for myself. I have to take off my clothes. I take off my clothes to cook. I cook in a bra because I don't want to get flour all over my clothes, or I wear an apron. But I'm mostly in a bra when I'm cooking because I don't want to get my clothes dirty. The fact that she can afford to get her clothes dirty is the point. The fact that you can afford to get these designer clothes dirty, girls, these are very expensive clothes. Okay? The fact that she can afford to get them dirty is the point. Okay, this was a $5 sweater on sale I take all precaution not to get this sweater stained. $5 on sale, this sweater, and I do everything I can to not get it dirty. Okay?
All the outfits I just showed you. Does this outfit make sense in the row of outfits I just showed you? Someone whose usual sense of style is extremely feminine, right? Is very dainty. We are talking about very light.
And nice rebrand with the jean pants, girl. We saw that too. Great. This is why I love this video. Nice rebrand with those jean pants.
Layers. Hardly ever. I don't think I've seen a single video where she's wearing pants. She's almost always wearing either a dress or a skirt. It's suddenly a girl who dresses like Kristen Stewart. Outfit is a clear and obvious diversion from her usual sense of style as a way to create a divide from herself and the messaging that she's put out in the world. If she thought there was nothing wrong with what she was doing, she would show up to this work event dressed the way that she always dresses. Number 2 is her voice. The fact that her voice clearly sounds different here than it does in all of her videos. She's not doing that soft-spoken whisper thing that she does in all her videos. All of a sudden, she's speaking with her chest. All of a sudden, she's speaking with some authority. All of a sudden,
if I'm not mistaken, too, like her husband was a MAGA voter, right? Lucky? He is MAGA, right? Wasn't that confirmed that he was MAGA?
and she can clear her throat and she can speak loudly. It's like the whispering was part of the entire appeal of this, right? The whispering and being soft-spoken was part of the nonverbal messaging that was being sent out here. Now, the accusations of her being and spreading Tradwife culture has been but minimum 5 years now, and she's had 5 years to clear it up as one of the biggest creators on TikTok, right? And she was on Shetty, Jay Scammer Shetty. She was on his program. He asked her about Tradwifes, and she just went like, why does anyone think I'm a Tradwife? Like, I don't get it. But, well, she's dressed high femme and all the, like, why do people even think this about me? Right? And she stayed quiet for all 5 of those years and is suddenly now outraged and has had enough of it and wants to suddenly speak out against it, right? Now that we have all of these blatant and obvious Tradwife influencers being like, I'm 19 and I have kids and I love my husband, and everyone's like, hey, you can't do that. Suddenly she wants to create a divide between her and those creators so that she doesn't have to deal with that backlash, and now she can speak up and say, I've never said that. I've never done that. The need to emphasize that she is a working mom when people like me have been making the argument that she's been a full-time worker the entire time, right? No.
By the way, she's not the only one making a rebrand. Have you seen all the former MAGA guys all coming out against Trump? I really think we're watching a universal rebrand because the new swing is going to be back to girl bossing, or back to, they have this whole new girl boss AI thing they've been doing. And I think like there's going to be this new switch up. Stay consistent in your values, girls. The world's about to test you so hard about those values. Stay locked in. All these people are writing trends. All these big brands, at the end of the day, they're not showing up authentically as themselves. And I know her kid was recently diagnosed with cancer, which I'm very empathetic to. And that is not something that I'm ignoring. She really is going through something. Her kid is suffering. Separate from that, because all kids can get sick. The truth is that my concern is that Nara Smith's influence, okay, given the situation she's in, could encourage people to think that they too could carry on with this lifestyle without the money to pay for said cancer treatments. Like, that's the dilemma. Poor people's kids also get cancer. And who's going to pay their cancer treatments if everyone's playing Tradwife? Okay. So again, when we have these conversations, I'm not saying you can't be a stay-at-home partner. I'm saying that you can't be a stay-at-home parent. I'm saying, hold on now. Now, people might ask me, Brittany, what's the difference from Nara Smith and Ariana showing up with her eating disorder, possibly eating disorder? Again, eating disorders to me are like cancer. You are allowed to be in public sick, okay? She has a responsibility. I would love for her to take on that responsibility. And also, I see eating disorders the same way I see cancer. That is a thing. You're going through something, okay? Nara Smith, as far as I know, is not going through something. Her brand is a business decision. It's not that she's going through something. Now, she might be going through something, but what we're criticizing today is the brand, okay?
She never said, I take care of my kids 24/7 and I do this stuff and it's easy. She did sell you the idea through imaging that that's what she did, that she took care of her kids while also baking peanut butter and jelly bread from scratch. And it was a piece of work. It was easy for her. Look at how she had time to do her full face of makeup. She had time to put on
exactly. Like, what are we talking about?
a beautiful dress. She had time to do her hair. She had time to have a spotless kitchen, all while holding a baby. Does not have to say stuff out of her mouth to visually imply it.
Exactly.
Choice to lie by omission, because that's what she often did. That's what her content was full of, right? This idea that
which is very good branding, by the way. Very good branding to never talk about the thing that you did. Now, Chad says they were never really MAGA, in my opinion. They were contrarians and got the money that way. They have no values, no integrity, not even hate, just a desire for money at all costs. Well, I think the dilemma here is like the people that were formerly MAGA and who are turning on Trump now. Yes, there's a grifter part of it, but I guarantee you some of those people really voted. And I guarantee you those people were more than happy to influence others to vote. So regardless of who's really MAGA and who's not MAGA and who's a grifter and who's just doing it for money, I mean, if they're really voting, they're really voting. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's now if they never voted, sure, full grifter. But if they're voting, I mean, they're putting an action behind those words, right? Okay, chat, do not cap. When you use capital letters in a chat of grown-ups, it's a lot, it's very loud, right? You said no, some of those people were absolutely MAGA. Again, it's like, do you want my attention? It's like it's very triggering to my autism. My sensory issues, don't like it. No capping, unnecessary. Okay, it sounds like you're yelling at a crowd at a coffee shop and you just decided to yell louder than everybody else for no reason. Okay, so like, don't do that. But I will say that, like, regardless, the point is, like, everybody's an adult, and thank you for apologizing, that accepted. Everyone is an adult, and we are sitting here as adults in the room, and there is real people's lives are on the line. And the question is, how do we decide who are the people that we as a community are going to look at and say, do not mimic this person? So, like, if you have an Ariana Grande in the world, as a parent, I would say, you know, I really love Ari's music. I really hope she's doing okay. It's, you know, I can see that something's up. And then my kids and I would have that conversation. Oh yeah, something is up. Yeah, looks like Ari's really going through something. My mom would do that to me when I was a kid. You know what I mean? Like, my mom would say, oh, it really seems like they don't have a support system. And I'm like, oh yeah, they don't have a support system. And what it would do is it would allow me as a child to not fill in the gaps of what I was seeing with something romantic. It would allow me to see it. Now, was my mom always perfect at this? No. Did my mom sometimes fill the gap in with something wrong? Yes. Okay. So with Nara Smith, I can see that her child getting cancer was devastating. I do question their decision to post some of it on the internet. But with that said, I think sharing in general is good. They shared one video in particular that I was like, I don't need to see this. But in general, it's good that they shared the diagnosis. It was a year later for other parents to know that anyone could have this happen to them, right? With that said, she does have a responsibility, I think, with her brand and how she shows up and how she influences people. I wish she would see that. But when you're a capitalist, and I think this is the problem that people don't realize, when you're a capitalist, you really are told this is what everyone is doing. It's normal. This is normal. There is no reason to think they're not capitalists. And if you are a capitalist, yeah, this is what you do. You build a brand, you play a character, there's a brand shift, there's a team, and you just move forward. There's no need to talk about ethics or morals or any of that stuff, because the ethics and morals are, we're building a business. That's why that 3-hour, that Kim Kardashian lady who does the 3-hour, time with her kids, that's all this bubble. That's all the marketing, getting ahead. Yes, there's haters. Yes, it impacts them. Yes, they are emotionally impacted. They're real people, guys. They're gonna be impacted by what you say. But in their brains, this is what everybody is doing. And this is just normal. And that's why this bubble is so, like, exploitative.
Yeah, that she was never honest about the fact that she had a full staff in her house helping her out. She was never honest about the fact that creating content and making this bread from scratch was her full-time job.
She's saying Nara is basically telling us that her and Lucky get no help. Look, that might be true. I don't know how it could be true, but it could technically be true. It could technically be true. Okay, I could see it. It could technically be true that genuinely when Nara is filming, Lucky's with the kids, and she gets 8 hours a day to film or 6 hours to put everything together. I know single mothers on TikTok who make very amazing content in the room, in their bedroom, okay? And somebody's watching their kid. Maybe she doesn't have a whole staff. Maybe she doesn't have a nanny. Maybe she doesn't have those things. Maybe she doesn't, right? And that's the thing. I, gun to my head, would never take this bet. And I think you'd be a fool to take it as well, only because your life isn't worth it. Your life is worth more than a bet on Nara Smith's secret life. Do you know what I mean? Your life is worth more than that. But something is going on. And that's the point. I wouldn't be surprised if she had a whole team. I wouldn't be surprised if she didn't have a whole team. But what I do know is regardless of a team existing, the brand is the brand. The brand is the brand.
that she was making millions of dollars off of, that she had nannies who would help her, that her entire life was not about waking up and baking bread. She had to send emails, she had to go to meetings, she had to be a businesswoman because that's what she is. The choice to omit all that was to send clear and obvious messaging. She did it so well because this is how good propaganda is done, that she left room for herself to have plausible deniability. So now years later, when the backlash to the kind of propaganda that she started is coming in, she can sit here in her jeans and her t-shirt and say, I never said that. Well, I never told people to do that. I don't know what would give you the illusion that I would do that. I would never say that. I've always been working. Women should always work. I've always had a job. We're very progressive in my home. All of a sudden, even though she spent years building an empire off of giving the illusion that that was not her truth. That is how good propaganda works. And the
Exactly.
fact that there are people in the comment section defending Nara Smith is proof that we have a media literacy crisis. We are so
Absolutely. And also Chad said, a capitalist really just becomes the product themselves. Exactly. Ultimately, I think there's a part of me that deeply empathizes with the fact that they feel like they're doing everything they should be doing, that it's a part of the game, that everyone said they should be doing this. And then the other side of us that says, what if I liberated myself from capitalism? This is why I said the other day when we had a conversation about liberating yourself before the world, you have to liberate yourself out of capitalism. I went through that phase myself where I was like, okay, this is how people make money. This is how you run a business. This is the goal. And I never did well with it. And I was like, I don't get it. Why don't I like this game? And I realized it's probably because I'm autistic. But I don't like it, And so I think the thing is that I think a lot of people are fine and comfortable with it because they just figure it's what everyone's doing. What else am I supposed to do? It's kind of like the Kevin Hart situation where everyone's like, why are you doing this? And he's like, why am I doing the dream? Why am I literally accomplishing every dream I've ever had? What are you talking about? Because to them, they're like, I'm doing it. I did it. I became the superstar. I became the person. To them, you're like a fool if you don't take these opportunities. You're like, you know what I mean? It's like, I can't believe you're not doing these things. What else am I supposed to be doing? And so it takes a lot to deconstruct from capitalism. It really does. Give yourself some credit. It's a big deal that you already came to the conclusion that oh yeah, I'm not going to do that. Because just think about how much of your life is freed up, not worrying about playing these capitalistic games, Okay, now, Chad says, I wish Nara would show what it actually looks like. Someone could make a horror series after the dark series of being a Tradwife. Well, let me tell you this much too. The truth of Nara's life is probably not going to gain her as much followers. I really think our regular, ordinary lives are just not interesting to people, nor are they inspirational. Nara's whole shtick is to be a inspirational myth of what could be. And it only could be under the circumstances that we assume she is under for this reason. Because in what reality are you doing this, So yeah, it is interesting. I'm glad we talked about it. And I'm glad this creator made this TikTok because I really do, this is how I felt when I first reviewed Nara Smith. I was like, oh, she's just, the brand is Tradwife, but she is running a business. That's why even my own history, my own women in the family, my mom would be like, oh, women were stay-at-home moms. And I'm like, wasn't grandma a professional seamstress? Didn't she literally make money sewing people's clothes for weddings and shit? Wait, didn't other grandma also work on the farm and also bring in money? Wait a second, didn't you also fucking work? And I was like, why does everyone identify as a stay-at-home mom or a housewife when you were only a stay-at-home mom for a short time while the kids were in school? You know what I mean? Why are all these conservatives playing stay-at-home mom while they all have second jobs at home? My cousin does this too. My cousin's like, oh yeah, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I was like, don't you run a bakery out of your kitchen? All these people that are like, oh yeah, don't you literally bring in money? What are we doing? What is this narrative we tell ourselves? I'm telling you, everybody must labor for their community, everybody. But a lot of these women are paying the IRS the taxes owed. You have a job. Okay, if the IRS, you owe money to the IRS, you have a job. Okay, you have a job. Okay, so all these conservatives need a fucking, the little mom and pop shops where the husband and wife run the shop. So you're a working woman, you work, we all work. Anyways, everybody must labor for their community, whether you bring in a paycheck or not. Okay, and that is the most joyful part of existence, is to be of service to each other in a symbiotic, healthy way. Okay, not in an exploitative way, not in a taking advantage way, not in a I have to because of my gender way, right? In a true community effort to build a village worth living in, worth raising kids in, we all must labor. Which is, by the way, why the Tradwife aesthetic is really pleasing, because it feels like, look at the reward I'm getting for my labor. I'm getting so much reward for my labor making bread, which, by the way, I love making fresh bread. I make it really regularly. Every 4 or 5 days, I'm making fresh bread because I make little vegan pizzas. And that's one of my snacks for the day. Girl, I'm already up to like 40 grams of protein today. So, you know, I'm getting my protein in for the day. Okay. The point is that I do think there's something that feels really Pinterest good about Nara Smith's life. And a big part of it is that she's pretty and she looks nice. And who wouldn't want to make baked bread in fancy clothes? I would, but I just can't afford to. And that's true for most people on this planet. We can't afford to. And that's why it feels like such a dangerous lie, you know?